Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb Podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. So today I was really guided to, I was kind of like opening up my channel today, and I did a lovely session in my temple group this morning, doing some card readings for my temple ladies. And, but I was kind of like looking for the direction of where today's transmission of light might go. And actually, as soon as I sort of came out of the temple, I found it in my Deepap group. Somebody asked about dreaming and dreaming big. And this is a big issue for a lot of people, dreaming big. It can be a huge issue. And we're going to workshop this a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit like a healing session today. And it's going to be a little bit like loads of really powerful insights. We're going to workshop a little bit, like a little bit of journaling to see and uncover some like maybe limiting beliefs and things like that around dreaming. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys is, or ask you really, is have you ever like been afraid to write your dreams down in case you're setting yourself up for disappointment? Has that ever been a fear of yours? Like, if I write these dreams down, I'm going to set myself up for a disappointment. I'm going to, I'm literally shoot myself in the foot type thing. What if I don't get my dreams like this? So Rennie here is saying yes, and Vandra saying totally a fear. Loads of yeses here, right? So being like having that fear. So Garla here is saying no, never. So not everybody's resonating with this, but some of you are resonating with this. So there was, when I first started my very, very first business, and when I first started my first business, I was a massive dreamer. I was not afraid of, and if actually, I was pulling tarot cards today. So if we actually go and use the tarot analogy, the card that represented me in my first businesses was definitely the Fool card, right? So I hate the name of the Fool. The Fool is naive, and the Fool is just full of the joys of life, right? And so they don't have any like history. They don't have any beef. They're just like literally like skipping into life. And then life starts to kind of like smack you down a little bit. So when I first started in business, I was definitely that Fool card. And then obviously in the journey of the tarot, the Fool goes on this big, massive journey. So the first person the Fool meets on his journey in tarot is he meets the magician, right? So the Fool is 0 and the magician is 1. And the magician usually is pointing up and pointing down. So the magician shares a universal secret: as above, so below. And it has all of the elements. You'll see the swords and the pentacles and the cups and the clubs or the wands. You'll see them all there in the mix of that. So everything is laying out there. It's all possible, right? And the Fool like looks, he's got big eyes, and he looks at the magician, he's like, oh, and the magician's like, magic's available, and it's exciting, right? But then the Fool goes out into real life, and real life happens, and real life can grind you down sometimes. Real life can grate at you. Real life can push your buttons and all of the things. So I built these massive dreams, and I had huge dreams, and I didn't get to all of them. But then when my burnout hit, I became very afraid of dreaming. In fact, I blamed my big ambitions and my big dreams on I was in what I call the blame game, really fully engaging in the blame game. And therefore, I was looking for anything and everything to blame for why I had burnt out in the first place. Everyone except me to start with, of course. So it was always something else's fault. It was not mine why I had burnt out. So I find this convenient excuse. It was those damn dreams. I know it was those fucking dreams. If I just didn't have them, maybe I wouldn't have burnt out, right? So I became very afraid of dreaming. And also as well, I started to become very afraid of setting myself up for disappointment because I was already disappointed in life. And I thought, I don't want to add to my disappointment plate. And so I've got a really sneaky plan. And my sneaky plan is I'm never going to dream. That way I'll be nice and safe. Except what I had guaranteed to myself is I'd guaranteed myself disappointment. I guaranteed that nothing spectacular was ever going to happen because I was refusing to actually open up the energy of where spectacular lives. So I was guaranteeing disappointment for myself. So that was the first realization that I had on this journey of allowing myself to open up the energy of dreaming big. Now, why is it such a big deal to dream big? Dreaming big is an essential ingredient in allowing yourself to have more. Okay, it is an essential ingredient in allowing yourself to have more. Why is it an essential ingredient in allowing yourself to have more? Well, the first thing that you need to know, and this was another mindset shift for me, right, is the dreaming is free. Just sit with that for a moment. Take a deep breath and put your hand on your heart. The dreaming is free. Okay? I want you to really feel into the dreaming, right? Like, what is the big diff? What is the big what is the big problemo in allowing yourself something that no one else knows? It's just you and the universe having a little conversation, right? But you're not even allowed to have that conversation. You're not even allowed to have that conversation because, like, what if I set myself up for disappointment? So you're not even allowing in something that is completely 100% free, costs zero, costs nothing to you or anyone else. And you think that on some level of consciousness, you're going to be allowing in a spectacular life or more money or more something when you don't even allow yourself the free thing. So that was a bit like a punch in the gut and a slap in the face all at the same time when I realized that for myself. And I thought, I've got to change this. I've got to be the one that leads myself, and I've got to allow myself to dream. So allowing myself to dream, I started just reminding myself that it was free and that the dream only becomes pressured. And here's another little insight that's very important. Your dream is pressurized if you're worried about the disappointment. Your dream is pressurized. But there is no pressure if I go like here's an example of exaggerated dreaming, right? Like, I wonder what it would be like to be a unicorn with wings, right? That's a free dream, right? And you can all, like, I want you just to close your eyes and just ask yourself that question. I wonder what it'd be like to be a unicorn with wings, right? Like, it's not that you're not putting that down as your goal. You're not like, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to figure out how I can get these wings, or like how I'm going to get the horn and like be the unicorn and all the things, right? Like, it's just a frivolous, free dream. And it's kind of fun, isn't it? Right? It's kind of fun thing, like, oh, what would that be like? Like, what kind of magical land would I live in if I was a unicorn with a horn and wings, you know? So it's like, I want you to have fun with it. But the moment we start saying, like, I wonder what it'd be like to make 6 figures a year, or I wonder what it'd be like to make 1 million, suddenly it's pressured. And so the quality of how we dream has got to be the unicorn with wings quality. where we have no pressure, no like something pushing down on it, right? So can we get into that place of where it was like, I wonder what my life would look like if I was like laying right now in like the Bay of Monte Carlo on a freaking yacht, living my best life. You know, I wonder what that would look like. And not like that, like, oh, if I don't get there, I'm going to be such a loser, you know, because that's a pressured energy. Instead, what we have to do is like take that pressure off and like be in that loosey goosey, like it's just a thought, right? It's just a thought. And if we can stay in that style of dreaming, the dreaming is actually more effective than the minute that we put the heavy energy on of like, if I do not get this, I'm a loser. And if it doesn't happen in the next 5 minutes, oh my God, like everyone will know, like I'm so terrible. Because what I realized was that in dreaming, there was this element of pressure in having the big dreams, was that what would everybody else think if I didn't do it? Anybody else had that thought? Like if you had the big dreams? Anybody being called a dreamer, like, and not in a nice way, right? Anybody being called a dreamer? Like someone told me I was delusional. I almost fell off my unicorn. Exactly. Right. So like if this is resonating with you and you've been called like a dreamer, you've been called like you've got your head in the clouds, like these are all things that the people please use to police us from truly allowing and freeing ourselves, right? And it's, if you're not even allowing yourself free, how policed are you? Think about that. How policed are you if you're not even allowing yourself to have the free thing? Because I realized that who was up in here controlling me? Who was up in here in my mind controlling me? Was it me, or had I given that power to a bunch of other people who never really seemed to have very nice things to say about me? They would say things like, you're a dreamer, you've got your head in the clouds, don't know what goes on in your head, you know, like things like that. That wasn't always pleasant. But here's the thing. When I was writing my book, Get Selfish, The Way is Through, when I was writing this book, at the start of every chapter of this book has a little meme. Now, there's a funny story to go with this. When I began making these memes, when I started making them, I just made 7 of them. And then I made 7 backgrounds, and I didn't make the 7 backgrounds to match the memes. I just made them separately because that's what I was guided to do through spirit. And when I was looking, I had all the colored parts of my book, because this book is full color, and all the colored parts of my book laying out on the floor. And when I was looking at them all, I thought, cripes, where do I start? Like, what's the first word for the first section? And I heard very, very clearly my spirit team say, we start with hope, because that's where we start with in any human. We start with hope. And I thought, wow. And I picked up the hope like meme, because I had them all cut out laying on the floor to try and compile my book together and the chapters together. So everything was laying on the floor in my living room at the time. So I started with hope. And then as soon as I picked up the hope, I heard spirit again very clearly say to me, if you have hope, you can have a dream. And it made me realize how essential hope and dreaming was to the human experience, right? And allowing yourself, hope is what allows you to have a dream. And a dream is what allows you to create your life. So that was a major insight for me in like learning to become the architect of my own life, learning to start to structure my own life. So the first thing was acknowledging that I probably would always be in a state of disappointment if I didn't allow myself to dream. The second thing was also acknowledging that I was going to have a really, really fucking hard time bringing in whatever it was that I wanted for myself if I didn't even allow myself the free component to life, right? Which is the imagination, the dreaming, the opening up of the energy in the first place. So I started allowing myself to dream, and I started taking the pressure off my dreams and started to really allow myself to fully open up that energy. And as I allowed myself to fully open up that energy, I then became aware of other fears that I had, right? Which was the fear of, like, what if I don't do it? Okay, so if you've ever dreamed and you've ever had dreams, and have you also held the fear of what if I don't do it? So let me know in the comments if that resonates. So Vandra here is saying, yes, totally, please. And Svetlana saying, I love that book. Thank you. You have too many ideas. Isn't that a nice thing for someone to say to you? And a lotus eater. Oh, lovely. Aren't they wonderful? For sure, I always have that fear every day. Okay, so Rini here is saying, Joanna, can you please expand on what you mean by taking the pressure off? So we pressurize our dreams by the need to make them happen, right? Like, so like if we don't happen, we're making that mean something. Like if we have the dream, like it's okay to have the dream, and we maybe got over that bit and managed to actually install the dream and say, well, this is my dream. But then we pressurize the dream, which literally sucks the fun out of ice cream, because if we don't do it, we put such pressure that it means then something about us, right? It doesn't just mean that you just didn't do it. It just means something about us. And that's a pressurized dream. And a lot of people are afraid to dream because they pressurize their dreams so much. So what we want to do is we want to dream in the state of energy of like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to be a unicorn with wings and live in a magical land, where it's like totally like out there. It's just like free, and it's not attached to anything. It's not like I must do this or everyone will know on the planet that I'm a giant loser. The moment we do that, we've pressurized the dream, and then we're starting to get into like a bit of energetic trouble, because now it's our own energy in that dream, and the dream's not out there doing its thing. Because here's the thing, the moment that you have created a dream in your beautiful mind, in your amazing mind, in that mind that has, to some people, too many ideas, or that mind of a dreamer or a lotus eater, or whatever other pleasant thing that they have said to you, in that mind, and when you allow that dream, it is a creative energy. We believe that the physical world is the only real world, but the non-physical world is just as real. Nothing in your physical world existed unless it existed in the non-physical first. It's always non-physical. That car that you're driving, somebody had to have the idea for that, right? Somebody had to birth that idea. And so ideas are birthed, visions are birthed, dreams are birthed, and they're all birthed going from the unseen world, the dream world, into the physical world. That's how the metaphysics works on everything. That computer you're watching me on, that phone you're watching me on, that tablet you might be watching me on, somebody had that idea, and it was a completely non-physical entity before it became a physical thing that you could hold in your hand and actually view me on. So if we allow ourselves that piece of dreaming, so this is why the dreams don't feel good, right? So we have that fear of like, people are going to think I'm a loser if I don't do this. Okay. So how I moved through that energy was I realized something. I wasn't dreaming big enough. My dreams look big to other people, but my dreams literally were not cray enough. Like they needed to be proper, certifiable, sticker in an institution, crazy sized dreams. Because here's the thing. If it took me a lifetime, like, would you want to work a lifetime on a little pathetic dream? Like, let's be honest, right? I don't want your spiritual answer. I want your human answer, right? Would you like to work your entire fucking life for a tiny little chicken nugget of a dream, right? Let me know in the comments. Little chicken nugget dreams, right? Would you want to work your whole life for a little chicken nugget dream? No, of course you don't want to work your whole life for a little chicken nugget dream, right? Like you're already pissed off even at the thought of trying to work your whole life for a chicken nugget dream. So you're like, no. Well, that means if you're worried about the time frame, you're dreaming big enough. I'm going to say that again. If you're worried about the time frame, your dream ain't big enough. You're playing too small, too safe, too disconnected from your greatness. Because if your dream is so fucking spectacular, you go a little bit like, oh my God, my heart's about to burst out my chest. I'm like having trouble breathing because it's so freaking exciting at the thought of having just even a teeny tiny portion of that dream, because the dream is so massive that your brain goes out to lunch. The fact that you've even allowed yourself to have it, right? Then you don't mind working a lifetime on the dream. You're like, I will, like, no matter what it takes, like as long as I'm gonna like show up for this every day of my life. Here's the most incredible, mind-blowing paradox of this. The moment you remove the element of time from your dream, you collapse the field of time because there's nothing supporting time anymore. Einstein's theory of relativity, right? Have you heard of that theory? Let me know in the comments if you've heard of the theory of relativity, right? Einstein's theory of relativity, he had a really, really cute example of his theory of relativity, which was that if you were doing something really, really boring, it takes forever, and you look at the clock and you realize, think an hour's passed and only a minute's passed, right? But then he also said, if you were with like someone that you really liked and you really loved, you could think a minute had passed and an hour had actually passed, which meant that time is actually relative to the observer. So his theory of relativity was a theory that was then later on now proven by the CERN accelerator, which is that big hadron collider in Switzerland, right? So Einstein, what he said was that time was relative to the observer, that we are the source of time. Now, Schuyler teaches this as well, right? Because what Schuyler teaches is that how this world was created was that it was created through a single thought. The first thought was called original thought. And Schuyler teaches that original thought was, I wish to know myself. Right? The energy, the source, God, whatever you want to call it, the supreme energy of the universe said, I wish to know myself. And original thought sparked a cascade of energies, which we call in science the Big Bang. But it was actually a thought form exploding into being. So the thought was, I wish to know myself, which is why we as human beings are so freaking obsessed with knowing ourselves, because it's a nod and an echo inside of us to original thought. So second thought followed original thought, and second thought was, in order to know myself, I need that which I am not. Right? In order to know myself, I need that which I am not. And in that instant, three energies were created: source, removed itself from a piece of itself. And in the moment, source then created the void. Source became the source of the void, but it is not the void. It is that which it is not, right? Source, in creating the void, two other energies were created, time and space. Source is the source of time, and yet it is not time. Source is endless. Source is not space, and yet it is the source of space, right? So those energies were created. And when those energies were created, we realized that time is not source, but we are source. So we're not time. We're only the observer of time. Time is a contrast to the truth of who we are. So if we were to move into our true nature, which is that endless source, our willingness to let go of the concept of time collapses the field of time. Well, when your field of time is collapsed, time can move at any speed. Shifts can happen in an instant. Things can happen quickly because you're no longer applying the laws of time to the situation, because you took time out of the equation. You said, if this takes me a lifetime, well, it will take me a lifetime. So I'm not going to give two fucks about time. And the minute that you decide, I'm not going to give a fuck about time, that's the moment you tap into your endless self, your infinite self, your source vibration. Well, your source vibration is sheer freaking magic. That's what that is. So now you're no longer playing in the fields of that which I am not, and you are moving into the field of that which I am, which is that powerful, endless source. So when I understood this about dreaming, and I understood that if I just removed time, if my dreams were worthy of me, they were big enough, huge enough, that I wouldn't, because like, no wonder I wasn't getting very far, because I was having little chicken nugget dreams, which had zero motivation in them. So the idea of working on a little chicken nugget dream for the rest of my life was like, oh, I was already bored. I was already over it before I'd even taken my first step. So when I realized if I dreamed big enough and they were so huge that I got heart palps and I literally took my breath away, I wouldn't mind working on them for the whole of my life. And if I worked on those dreams for the whole of my life, then it was like, so be it. That would be okay. That would be cool with me. But a really funny thing happened as well, right? Because if you think about the process of getting a dream, of actually getting the end result, right? We don't go have the dream, pop, get the end result. There's like a little journey in between, right? And that journey, things start to improve day on day on day. Why is that? Because of one of the universal laws. The universal law is all energy moves in increments. Now, this is a dual law, meaning that it applies to the non-physical world as well as the physical world. So even in the non-physical world, all energy moves in increments. And in the physical world, all energy moves in increments. And what people refer to as a quantum leap is actually an illusion. It's where the increments move so quickly in the physical world that they are faster than our human senses can perceive. They go quantum. The increments are now moving in the quantum world. The result pops into the into the physical world, and you're like, holy crap, that's a quantum leap. But not really, because all the increments all moved, which is why I'm not a big fan of quantum leap, because a lot of people go chasing a quantum leap and they don't know what it is, right? Because it makes you feel a bit of a loser, because all these people over here are all having a quantum leap. And what about me? It's not happening for me. But the thing is, so then you begin to ignore the increments that actually create the freaking quantum leap to your detriment. The difference between you being a millionaire and not being a millionaire is just 1 penny. If you have that penny and you're at like 999.99, right? All the nines. That penny is the thing that's going to pop you over the edge of whether you get to be a millionaire or not get to be a millionaire, right? So how are those increments looking now? So when you're sitting there with your one client feeling like a chicken nugget, just know it is only one that's going to pop you over the edge of being a millionaire or earning 100,000. It's one penny that's going to be the difference between whether you earned 100,000 or not 100,000 at the end of the day, right? So what I want you to understand is the dreaming part is so essential, but we got to take the pressures off. And time is a big pressure. Now, the time is only a problem if the dreams are little chicken nugget dreams, because then you're like, oh, well, I worked on it a whole month and I still don't have the result. And now I feel rather bad about myself. But at the moment that you feel bad, the Be Magic Insights. So I channeled 13 incredibly powerful insights. So the Be Magic Insights, Be Magic Insight 7 says the moment that you feel bad is the moment that you have separated from source. Right? So source loves you so much that it's willing to send you an agent the moment you separate from it. The moment you separate from your power, the moment you separate from your power base, source is willing to send an agent. Agent, I don't feel good, reporting for duty. That insight was my permission slip to feel good on a daily basis. Because when I feel good, I'm in alignment to my highest truth. I'm in alignment to source. When I don't feel good, guess what? I'm moving away from source. Therefore, aka I am moving away from my power in life. Having the time involved in my dreams never felt good, which means, of course, it doesn't feel good because time is not source. Source is the source of time, and yet it is not time. So now we can take the time out of the equation. Time out of the equation, the field of time is a solid thing. But now, because you came along like the little creator self that you are, and you remove time out of the equation, the field of time has to collapse. And as it collapses, time no longer has any business in your dreams and in your life, which means that your dreams now move into the realm of infinite possibilities. They can happen in an instant. They can happen a week tomorrow. They can happen 2 years from now, 10 years from now. But if your dream is big enough, you don't mind either. So 7 years ago, when I set some major goals for myself and started out on this journey of building my online business, I took time out of the equation. In taking time out of the equation, I built a 7-figure business in 7 years. Do you think I am crying into my Louis Vuitton? No, I am not crying into the Louis Vuitton because it took 7 years. Because here's how the journey went. It didn't go setting my goals. Life is super pathetic, super pathetic, super pathetic. Ah, I arrived. Ha, how wonderful for me. No, it went like this because it went law of increments. Year 1, things are cooking. Year 2, things are improving. Year 3, yep, we're still moving. Yep, we're getting ready. We're going for it. We're going for it. We're going for it. Going for it. Going for it. Going for it. Year 7. You, Joanna, and your company and your team have done $1 million in sales. Like, what the actual fuck? What life is this that I have created? But here's the thing, it's exactly the same for you if you start to remove all of the pressures of energy. One of the visions that I get is, have you ever seen a galley kitchen? Have you ever seen a galley kitchen, like a really, really narrow kitchen? And I want you to imagine a super narrow galley kitchen. You can barely turn around before you hit the other work surfaces on the other side, right? Like big old galley kitchen, okay? So I want you to imagine that you put the universe as the chef in that kitchen, right? And then you get all up in the universe's face, the chef, right? So the chef's got to try and work in this kitchen, and it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like, oh my God, I can't move, right? And you're expecting deliciousness in the form of your life experiences to be produced in this miniature galley kitchen where the universe cannot even freaking turn around before it's hitting its butt off something. And we're hoping that the universe is going to do its best fucking work in that tiny galley kitchen. And then on top of it all, we also think that being in the galley kitchen with the universe while the universe is doing its thing is such a spectacular idea. So we're just going to lend a hand. Because what if the universe doesn't do it right? So we all get up in there. And now we've got two people that can't move in the fucking galley kitchen, and we're like getting frustrated and wondering where our results are and wondering why life does not taste as delicious as we had dreamed and hoped. There is times in life where we have got to take all of our attachments to things and give the universe breathing room to work. Give the universe a bigger kitchen to work in, right? And you don't need any money to produce a bigger kitchen for the universe to work in. You just need to let go of a bunch of stuff, like the pressure that you place on yourself. If I don't have this a week on Tuesday, that will mean I'm a loser. No, it just means your dream was too chicken nugget-y, because if your dream was a real dream and like a good sized dream, you won't mind if it takes you a year or 2 years to complete. So I want to share 3 separate pieces of information now that really, really help me. My brother, at his very, very heaviest, weighed 21 stones. So if you're new to my world and you've never heard me talk about my brother Angus, he is actually a personal trainer now. Okay, so he went from weighing 21 stone and being very plus size, and he went and changed his life completely. Now, my brother loves the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, the Ninja Turtles. Do anybody else remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Like from back in the day. He loved them, right? He adored them. He had all the things. He had the t-shirts. He had posters on his wall. I think he had mutant ninja bed covers, everything when he was a boy. Anyway, I love them. But these turtles practice kung fu. And because of the turtles, my brother got really, really into kung fu. And at first he couldn't find a kung fu teacher that would even take him because he was so overweight. And a lot of teachers looked at him like, no, dude. But he found this teacher and he said, sure, I'll teach you. And he says, but I have some standards, and you need to meet these standards. And so my brother was like, right, okay. So my brother started training with this guy. Now, this guy was really hardcore. And so he was like, you're going out running. My brother was like, I have not run in about 10 years of my life. My thighs may set fire to each other. And the guy was like, well, I don't do excuses here. So he says, my program is everyone runs. So you either are going to run or you're out of the program. So my brother was like, guess I'm running, right? So he starts running and he's trying everything. Like, he's watching what he eats. He's showing up for this guy. He's showing up for the training. He's doing the training exercises in between the classes and everything. And then he starts running. And when he starts running, he literally gets the runs. Like, he gets stomach cramps and he gets the runs. And he's so like, fuck my life. Because now he's out running with these people and he's like got to find somewhere to go to the toilet. And he's like, can I not get a break? I am trying so hard here. I'm trying to eat well. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to train. I'm trying to do all the things. And yet the universe is literally like, it's taking the absolute mick out of me right now. And I'm getting the runs here. So he has a really powerful story that he tells of, like, he has this conversation with God and he says to God, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you victimizing me like this? And he said that God answered him, and the answer that he got, and he literally got this answer like at the back of a bush that he'd had to dart into to literally relieve himself. And the answer that God gave him was, well, you said you wanted the shit out of you. But that's not poignant for this story. And that reframed how he looked at it. He was like, yeah, you're right. Like, where did I think the weight was going to go, right? It needs to come out of my body. So he realized, he started not minding. So what he did was he started running with like a loo roll in his hoodie pocket, and he would like run. But he was like, no matter what, because he had another epiphany. After he got through that, he had another epiphany. And that's the one I really want to share with you, right? He thought of every single time that he had started a diet, which had been many diets had been started, and many diets had never been seen the light of day. They had never completed. He'd never completed the weight loss journey, but he was determined that this time it was going to be different. And so he thought to himself, what if I began and never had stopped? What if I began and never had stopped? What if I began and never stopped? And I want you to think about your dreams. What if you began your dreams and never stopped? Right? What if you never went, oh, well, that's it then. I mean, it's a week past Tuesday now and I haven't got what I wanted and I'm not a zillionaire and like, well, fuck. And we gave up and we give up, right? We give up. The energy is the energy of giving up. My brother had this epiphany that what if I ate the pizza one day and fell off the wagon, and that did not lead to a cascade effect of quitting? What if I just said, I hope you enjoyed the pizza, to myself, and I got right back on it tomorrow and just kept going? Well, today my brother is a personal trainer and has helped hundreds of people with their weight loss journey because he never quit. But when I got that information, I really loved that piece of information. Later on, I got the information to take time out of the equation from Skylar. Takes time out of the equation. You're only a loser because you're telling yourself a loser, but you're only that because time's there. But what if like it's not over till like it's actually over and you're laying on your deathbed? Then you can complain whether you didn't do it or not, right? But what if you just kept going no matter what? So I had like my little brother story, and then I had my spirit team story, and then I heard a quote by Michael Jordan, and the quote was, and I realized this was the essence of a winner mindset. The quote was, I have never run out of time. Like, I've never lost a game. I've only ever run out of time. I've never lost a game. I have only ever run out of time. If that is not a winner mindset, I do not know what is. And that inspired me so much, because I thought I cannot lose if I take time out of the equation, right? Because the only reason why people had a perception that Michael Jordan had lost a game was because he ran out of time. But what if I couldn't run out of time? What if I removed time from the equation and I had my whole life to do this? Because the dream was big enough, worthy enough, and not a little chicken nugget. So I got bent out of shape and upset after a week of trying. That the dream was so big and so worthy of me that I could keep going for the rest of my life. And here's the thing, here's the magic, right? Because everything's an increment. So if you're moving towards the goal, I promise you in a year's time, you'll have had a year of experience that has moved you closer to the goal. And if you don't have that pressure on yourself, because do you do your best work while you feel a shit ton of pressure and stressed out of your mind? No. You do your true best work when you're feeling an ease, joy, and flow. So this is allowing yourself to move into ease, joy, and flow, right? So if it takes you your whole lifetime, like, stop giving a shit about that. Because I guarantee you that if you adopt these things that I'm teaching you today, that a year from now, you will look back and you'll have a very different attitude. You won't have that pressure that if you achieve your goal or you don't achieve your goal, because you're like, I got time. And you won't have that pressure of like, what will other people think? Who gives two fucks? I got my whole life to do this, right? And because you collapse the field of time, the universe is now not in a galley kitchen like this, trying to create greatness while banging into the cupboard doors. You've given the universe room to work, room to breathe, because you haven't pressurized the universe to like work in a teeny, teeny, tiny space. You've opened the space up. Take as long as you want, universe. This is worthy of me. This is going to be fucking spectacular. So you know what? I'm good. But the thing is, everything moves in increments. So there's always going to be like movements of improvement. I remember when I made my first 5K month, it was game changing for me and my family. Game changing. We were living on welfare. I just nailed $5,000 in 1 month. Do you know, I hadn't been out for a meal in like years that my mom or someone else had not paid for. You betcha that month. I took the whole family out and I treated my mom as well. You know, because that was something that we could now do. And, you know, when I made my first 10K month, I literally lay on the floor and sobbed like a baby. Because it was so game changing and so life changing. And that money meant we could upgrade our car. And we could change our car. And our last car before that car cost us 50 pence. I'm not even joking, right? You're like, what kind of car can you buy for 50 pence? Well, you can buy it off your father-in-law if he's really, really kind and treats you like a charity case in which you get to buy his car off him for like 50 pence. So that some money changed hands. Right? And I was so grateful to my father-in-law for, because otherwise we wouldn't have had a family car. We would not have had a family car. Right? But like, I can tell you how sweet it felt, the increment of knowing that we can afford a new car. So we went from like a really old Bora Bora to quite a new Nissan. No, it was new to us, but it had low mileage. We'd never had a car with like under 50,000 miles on the clock. So it was like low mileage. It was really, really sweet, you know? So here's what we do. We start to build this energy, and we're building the energy of dreams, building the dreams up. So Irene here has got a question. How do you apply this to time fluidity and freedom when the outside world has deadlines? Well, your deadlines are not your dreams, right? So, and the thing is, you can only, and like, this is what we do with deadlines in my company, because obviously I run a company and I also have employees, and I say to my employees, sometimes I'd like this done by such and such a date. But here's the thing, I don't put the pressure on. The reason I don't put the pressure on is the fact that we can only go as fast as we can go. That's it, right? You can only go as fast as you can go. Once you accept that, you can start, because here's the kind of bigger picture here that I want to share with you. And I'll be sharing a lot of this in LightWeb tonight. So if you're LightWeb activated, let me know in the comments if you're LightWeb activated. But I teach a lot of this energy and understanding the energy at such a deep fundamental level in LightWeb. But there's only two energies. There's source and there's void. That's it, right? Because that's what came from the original thought. Source and source removing itself from a piece of itself, creating the illusionary void. Okay, so the pressure doesn't feel good. So Be Magic Insight 7 tells us the moment that we separate, like we don't feel good the moment we separate from source, right? So the moment that we don't feel good, we separate from source. So what happens is that if we're working in the void has a nature. And what I want you to understand about nature is like the nature of a dog is to be a dog. It doesn't suddenly start to learn, like even if the dog learned to meow, it would never be a cat. It's a dog. It's what it is. It's nature, right? So nature, it tends to be a fixed thing, right? So nature tends to be this fixed thing. So like a horse doesn't suddenly become a zebra because we paint stripes on it, you know, it is still going to be that horse, even if the horse says, but I feel like a zebra, you know, like it's a fixed nature. So there's the nature of the void is fixed, right? So nothing grows in the void, and the void does not expand because it's not its nature. It's nature, its source's nature to expand and grow. The void's nature is to contract. So the minute we're in void aligned energy, our life experience is literally contracting. If our life experience is literally contracting, we don't get the expansion. We have to be playing on the field of source to get the expansion, right? So in order to get the expansion, we have to be playing in the field of source. So if we are determined to improve our lives, and we're determined to expand our lives, and we're determined to change our lives, the game that we need to learn to play is a source aligned game. And that's what we teach in LightWeb. We teach you how to not only become LightWeb activated and have that tool to be able to use to boost your intuition and to be able to have really crystal clear conversations with source yourself. But the second thing that we do is we teach you the fundamental basics, like the understanding that underpins how the entire universe works. And once you understand those, you can start to apply them to your life, and you can start to realize, okay, I'm right now in void aligned energy. If I'm in void aligned energy, I'm not going to be creating good shit here, because from this energy base, I'm not creating the best. I have to change the energy from which I'm operating. So if I'm ever in fear, know that we're not doing our best work. So like back to the question of the deadline, right? The deadline is making me literally cack it. And I'm like, I'm so stressed. Stressed is a fancy word for fear. Stress is a fancy word for fear, right? But it's fear at the end of the day. Why do we have stress? Think about it. Think about stress. Let's just take a moment to appreciate stress for a moment, because it's an agent from the universe, right? It's an emotion that blooms inside of us. I'm so freaking stressed. Oh my God, I can't cope, right? Why can't you cope? Because you fear. If you took time out of stress, stress wouldn't exist. Stress is a byproduct of time. Think about all the time that stress has been present in your life. I guarantee you time's there, right there, like, hello, I'm stress's best friend. Like we come together, like we're always together, you know? So this is the thing, is that it's connected. But we understand. So if I took time out of the equation, I'm like, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. I remember once a guy talking to us, and me and my husband, about debt. It's a conference that we were at, and this guy gets up, and he was in a lot of debt, you know, when he started, but he'd made a lot of money. So he's sharing his story about making a lot of money, but he started off life in a lot of debt. His name was Les Brown. And he was really like one of the kind of early guys, African-American guys that was in the New Thought movement. He's actually quite a cool dude, right? So anyway, we had seen this guy, and he got up on stage, and he tells a story, of like how much in debt he is, right? And like people are phoning him, and they're like totally putting the pressure on him, and they're like, you know, you need to pay. And he's like, there comes a point where there's so much money coming in, and there's so much money due out. And when you're in debt, it's usually more money due out than is actually coming in, right? And so came to a point where I realized how fucking ridiculous everything was, because I was actually working on this. And the pressure that these people were putting on me was so huge, and I was allowing that pressure. And it was so massive that I just decided one day I was not going to give a shit. He was like, I just gave up on it. I just decided I can only do what I can do, and I can only get what I can get, right? So he's like, some people are just not, I just accepted, I surrendered, he said, I surrendered to the fact that some people were just not going to get paid. So he tells this story, and it's really funny because people would phone up and be like, you need to pay this. And he says, if you keep speaking to me like that, you won't even get in the hat. And they would go, what? And he said, well, I owe a lot of money to a lot of people. So every month I put everybody's name in the hat. And whoever I draw out of the hat is who's getting paid that month. Because I only have so much money and I can't make more money. I'm working on it, but I can only do what I can do, is what he said, right? So he says, you're not going to even get in the hat. He says, it was amazing how pleasant people became when they understood that they may not even make it into the hat to be paid that month. And I love that story so much because that story shows how powerfully and potently you can begin to lead yourself away from fear. You're going to let that fear, but really look at the fear, it's ridiculous, right? Like if you've got a deadline, it's ridiculous because you're either going to make the deadline or you're not going to make the deadline. Is your life over if you don't make the deadline? No. Is your life over if you don't make the dream within the deadline? No. Take away the deadline. You're free to do it whenever. It could be right now that you do it. You don't operate as a human organism. You do not operate well in the state of fear. Your energy is contracted. Your creativity is contracted. Your mind is contracted. You are stressed. You are freaking out. You do not do your best work in that. You do your best work when you open up your energy wide. When you open up your energy wide, that's when you do your best work. And you do your best work in source alignment. And source doesn't give two fucks about time because source is endless and eternal. And it's the truth of who we are. So when I started to learn to operate from the endless and the eternal, things could happen much quicker. But when I operated from fear and the stress, things slowed down. Why? Because fear's nature, fear, and the nature of the void, which is all void energy, is resistance. The flow happens at source, baby. It's all flow at source. It only knows how to flow. It's its nature. It doesn't know how to do anything else but flow. But the void, it resists the flow. Because the void is everything that source is not. So when we amalgamate this in together and all of these teachings together, it is the first step is allowing yourself to dream as big as you can and to take the pressure off those dreams. And like, it doesn't matter if they don't happen next week or in a year from now, that you dream so big that it allows you to be expansive. The next step is don't quit. If it's really worthy of you, it's worth you pursuing. Do you really want it or did you not really want it that much? Right? So I have a teaching that I call, how much do you want it? How much do you want this? The success that you desire in life, the upgrades that you want to have, all of the things that you would love to, the more that you would like to have, how much do you actually want it? Do you want it enough to be patient for a lifetime? Or was it too chicken nuggety that actually you get pissed off after about 5 seconds? Because then the dream probably wasn't worthy of you and too little. But if it's like, when I went on the journey that I call my Be Your Own Rescue journey, when I went on that journey was about like rescuing myself, to being able to stand on my own 2 feet and not have to hit up my mom for like a little loan or like, hey, fancy cooking dinner for us because we were like a little bit broke. Like that was the ability to stand on my own 2 feet. Well, if that was truly, truly my dream and I really wanted that dream, then it was okay for me to not give up on that, to not quit on that. And because I never quit and I just kept going And I just kept going. And yep, I had blips, and yep, I had dark nights of the soul. And yep, I was like, I don't know if I'm enough for this moment. Everybody, it's going to happen. You're going to eat the pizza, right? If you speak to my brother, he'll say, you're going to eat the pizza. Like, it's not game over for your diet if you eat the pizza. It's not game over if you have a dark night of the soul on the journey of developing and improving your life. So when I started to really align my business and my life and everything with source, and I just didn't quit, things unfolded, and things unfolded rather rapidly. I retired my husband within a year of being in my business. But I know that I was able to do that because I did not have the pressure that I had once put on myself. So I was now in a kitchen where I could do my best work, and source could do its best work through me, because it wasn't banging up on the kitchen doors anymore and all up because I wasn't squishing the space with my fear. I'd taken the fear away. I'd taken the pressure away. I'd taken as many void aligned energies as I could lay my hands on and taken them away, leaving only source to do the thing. So a lot of it was very counterintuitive, right? Because if you're pressured for a deadline, what's the thing that you do, right? Like, let me know in the comments. Like, what happens when you're pressured for a deadline? What's the chat inside your head? What do you tell yourself? Are you allowed to have a break when you've got a deadline coming up and you're pressured? I can't stop. That's the story, isn't it? Shut down, panic. Can't let people down. That's a good one. Yeah. A little story there. Can't let people down. I'll never make it. Keep going no matter what. I need chocolate and coffee. I had to give up something to get it done. Yes, I can't create it. I'm a failure, right? So I can freeze and become ill. The pressure comes up, I get stressed, right? So there's this story with the stress, right? Like a little story. And when you're experiencing that story, you can tell that you don't feel good, which means that you have the presence of the void. And here's the counterintuitive piece. In the counterintuitive piece, you never, ever give yourself like the permission to just go, right, okay, well, what if I just stopped? What if I just stop? What if I just choose to stop right now and just take myself a little break? When I started practicing this in my own life, when I would get stressed or when I would feel the pressure, instead of going with the fear-filled stories, I stopped. I said, this is my sign that I need a break. And it's totally counterintuitive, because your ego is going to scream at you. Trust me on this. This I know intimately. Your ego is going to call you a fucking idiot, right? Because you don't have enough time. Ah! Right? It's all fear-based. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to go out into the forest. You're going to do something beautiful. You're going to go in the forest. You're going to take a breath. You're going to go for a coffee. You're going to chill the fuck out. And when you come back, you're more source aligned, which means you're now in the flow. And you will see things from the lens of source and through the perspective of source that will actually improve your life. While you're in the narrow galley kitchen, freaking the fuck out, wondering if you'll ever get to the end of the project, in total state of fear, it's like you've got your blinkers on. You can't see the bigger picture. You can't see more things. You can't see an easier way of doing it. Why? Because it does not exist at that vibration and at that frequency. So when you take yourself away and do the counterintuitive thing, and your ego literally has a shit fit that you, how dare you leave when you have this deadline? How dare you? When you do that and your ego has this little fit, and you calm your ego down and say, well, okay, love, but kind of stressed. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to have a nice cup of coffee and I'm going to watch the world go by for 10 minutes and I'm going to really allow myself just to relax. Your perception changes. And suddenly you're sat there with your coffee and you're watching the world go by and you're just watching like some kid playing with something and you're half there and you're half not there. You're starting to relax. You're starting to take the pressure off. And as you're watching that kid, just something pops into your consciousness. You're like, I wonder if I could do it this way. And suddenly you've just like quartered the time it would have taken you before. But you would never have got to that place of quartering the time because you were so hell-bent on doing it that way, in the fear and pushing through the resistance. No wonder you're exhausted as a human being. Have the coffee and do it in the flow. So Tara said, I find when I do that, it creates more work and excitement of what I want to do. So when you're a conduit to multiple ideas, like I am as well, I'm a conduit to multiple ideas. One of the biggest gifts that I've given myself is that I do not need to be the one that executes all the ideas. So like this year, we had 11 print jobs on the table. So these are the samples of the 2 brand new journals about to come out. So any day now, these will be available for pre-order. So these, you know, I had 11 print jobs, so 11 different books, card decks, all the things this year. When I started the journey, I said, well, you know, if it takes us 3 years, it takes us 3 years. We're almost complete on nearly all of them. Why? Because time didn't get a look in. I said to my team, I don't give a shit if this takes me like 3 years to do this, right? But because we took time out of the equation, things moved faster, more rapidly. And that's it, you know? So sometimes you just have to shelve things and just work at them a little bit at a time, an increment at a time. Because remember, you can't, a book doesn't write itself all in one go. You have to write a page at a time, an increment at a time. Everything, law of increments, all things move in increments. These laws just help you to stay in your source connection. So if you have a shit ton of ideas, the first thing is to give yourself permission that you don't always have to be the one that executes them. Somebody else. I give ideas to people all the time. And then secondly of all, like you can chip away at every idea, a little bit here, a little bit there, keep chipping away. That's what we did on all our print projects. And now we're getting towards the end of the year. A lot of these print projects are coming to completion and it's glorious and amazing. And I love it. So, yeah, giving ideas are therapy for me. Absolutely. I love it. So I hope that today has really, really helped you in dreaming bigger and giving yourself that permission. Because the only permission that you're truly seeking is not the permission from the peanut gallery that don't do anything exciting anyway. So why are we taking our opinions from them? Consider the source. Is really, you know, is to give ourselves the permission to step into our greatness, to never quit on ourselves, to keep going, to have dreams that are so big, so juicy, that actually you're like, I don't really mind if it takes me a lifetime. Once I got into that mindset, things started moving a lot more rapidly for me. Because here's the final insight that I want to share with you. The final insight of what I want to share with you is that dreams that are large enough don't just contain your energy, they contain their own. And therefore, they're also seeking to be birthed. And they see you as an open and available conduit. So those dreams will actually whisper to you in your consciousness. They'll say, why don't you try this? Why don't you go here today? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And if you act on those divine inspiration, that's where inspired action comes from. Most people are trying to create their dreams from their own action, plain old, what I call plain old action. That requires all of your energy to create the dream. No wonder you're exhausted. Dreams that are large enough, huge enough, they come with their own energy, and they also come with inspired action. You will be inspired to act. When you're inspired to act, you will move through the energy much quicker. If you want to learn a lot more about energy, then the place to be is inside my LightWeb program. That is where I teach all the things about energy. If you want to learn how to really align your energy powerfully with source, then in LightWeb is where we teach all of that. I know that loads of you are really excited to be doing LightWeb again. It's a lifetime access course. You can keep going again and again. It's a really powerful course for helping you to understand energy at a deep fundamental level. You get all of our light tools, plus you get the light tool of LightWeb itself to be able to really connect with LightWeb. So I know I will see some of you on that call. If you are interested, it's just lightweb.com, all one word, no fancy spellings, just lightweb.com, all one word. And you can go and check out the course. There's still time to jump in, and I will speak to you guys soon. Thank you so much for coming along on this transmission of light, and I hope that you enjoyed today. I'll speak to you soon now.